Rising from the bottom.
The past is a very determined ghost, haunting every chance it gets. Laura Miller. Let's get into it. Well, fight night finally arrived. It wasn't the big one, but it was the one he had to get past to get to the big one. It was a whole lot hanging on this fight. So he was in his dressing room warming up, hitting those pads, doing, warm up drills and everything like that. And the man holding the pads was like, you could see him wincing as Sabota was just bap, bap, hitting those pads, bap, bap. He was fired up. But Mr. Ray saw something different. He saw not only was he just fired up, he seemed to be on edge. Sabota seemed to be frustrated, like something was bothering him. And this made Mr. Ray nervous. Because over the years training him, he's seen him day in and day out, and he can tell when something was bothering him. And he also knew that Sabota had a bit of a temper too. So when he watched Sabota, warming up, hitting those pads and doing those drills and everything like that, he just seemed that he was putting a little more energy into it than he should have been. It's okay to be, sharp and fired up, but he was almost hitting those pads as if he was actually in the fight right now. Like this was the fight, and this was supposed to be just a warm up. And so the man, he hitting those pads, pow, and the man wincing. He's trying to do his job, and he look over at Mr. Ray, the pad man, the mid man. What am I talking about? The pad, the man holding the pads. You know what I'm talking about. He looks over at Sabota. He looks over at Mr. Ray like, you can step in anytime, And Mr. Ray, all right. That's enough. And he stops the whole thing. And the guy helping Sabota warm up, he said, thank God. He threw those mitts down and started, rubbing his hands together and walked off in pain. So Mr. Ray, went over to Sabota and just looked at him. And he stared into his eyes like he was looking through his soul. And he asked him, what's wrong? Sabota kind of shrugged it off, looking away from him, like, man, nothing. I'm good. And Mr. Ray just grabbed him by his shoulders and like, spit it out. Sabota looked at him now at this point was like, look, I said I'm good. And Mr. Ray wasn't trying to hear it. Like I said, he knew him in and out. He'd been training with him since he was a kid. So he knew when something was bothering him. So he looked at Sabota and said, look at me, Sabota. Whatever it is that's bothering you, do not bring that shit into the ring. And Sabota's looking at him like, I'm good. And he stops Sabota again. It's like, look, you leave that shit in the past. You hear me? And at that point, Sabota can tell that Mr. Ray knew something deeper. And without saying anything, without talking about it, Sabota just nodded. And he was like, yeah, I hear you. And they had a moment just staring at each other. And Mr. Ray looking at him like, don't mess this up. Obviously, Sabota respected him a great deal. So Sabota just cracked, like a little nervous smile. It was like, come on, relax. I'm fine. I just can't wait to go lay this guy on his back, that's all. And then Sabota started shadowboxing a little bit more, just looking sharp and everything like that. And at this point, he looked a lot more calm now. After the conversation, he looked like he cooled out a little bit. And Mr. Ray just watched him and kind of was like, okay, maybe he is good. He's good. He's all right. But he kept an eye on him, though. Mr. Ray kept a close eye on him. But for some reason, he just was like, I don't know, something. He just looked like he felt like something wasn't right with Sabota. But he let it go. And he looked at the team And then he did, he put his fingers in his mouth and whistled that. Wee, you know how you put your fingers in your mouth and blow. Wee, wee. I can't do it, but that's what Mr. Ray did. So Mr. Ray got everybody up and said, "Hey, everybody, it's time." And so that night, once they got in the ring, it was on. The crowd was going crazy, and everything seemed like business as usual, right? Sabota was in the ring, handling business. And Mr. Ray was like, okay, maybe it was him. The way he watched Sabota was looking good. He was giving his opponent the business. It was like just another day in the office. The guy tried to fight back, but it wasn't worth it. He seemed like he was in over his head. To be honest, it looked like a bit of a mismatch. But Sabota was just getting him. Sabota was too fast for him, too much power, all of that. It was like, okay, this is a walk in the park. And then the bell rung, and Mr. Ray began to look at him like, okay, champ, here we come. Champ, here we come. And then Sabota went, sat on the stool, and he had this rage in his eyes. And Mr. Ray noticed it. Mr. Ray was like, all right now, fellas, settle down. You winning this fight easy. Just relax. You got to pace yourself. Stay cool. And Sabota just looked forward like he was possessed. And then Sabota just said to himself, man, I want to knock him out. And Mr. Ray like, what? And Sabota said, I want to knock him out. And Mr. Ray's like, oh, don't focus on that. He's ready to go. Just trust me. He's ready to go. Just keep sticking that jab in his face. You're going to take care of the rest. I don't want you in there trading shots. Box him. You hear me? And Sabota was focusing on the fact that this fight looked like it may be going down the stretch. It was going the distance. And it was only like the 7th round, something like that. But the guy was still there. And hey, it's not his fault that the guy can take a hell of a beating, right? He was whooping his ass. And Sabota wasn't trying to hear that. So Mr. Ray was like, look, take it easy, man. Just take it easy. You just keep doing what you're doing. Don't go forcing anything. And Sabota was like, yeah, I hear you. And then he looked at him and he kind of had a smile on his face. Just to try to ease, he could see Mr. Ray was, stressing a little bit. So he looked at him and said, hey, have someone call the champ and tell him we're on our way. And Mr. Ray's like, well, he didn't laugh like that, but he just kind of laughed along. It was a little awkward laugh because he still felt like, Sabota seemed a little too edgy for him. And Sabota just wanted to try to, ease his worry and everything like that. So the bell rung again. Boom. And they was going in for the 8th round. And Sabota had this, a little smirk. He gave Mr. Ray a little smirk right before he got off the bench. And let him know, I got this. I got it under control. So when the fighters got in the middle of the ring, Sabota just picked right up where he left off. Bang, bang. He just kept pounding away at his opponent's body. He went for the body. Wow, like just tearing his body up. Like it was unbelievable that the guy was taking the punishment. And while the crowd, I'm sure they was like, oh, this is horrific. Like, it's the type of thing you thought his corner would have stopped it by now, but they didn't stop it. And Sabota just okay, you don't want to go down? Ah, he tearing his body up. And it was like just another round, the same old that the whole thing been, just tearing him up, just beating him down, just a pain, just a massacre, right? So then he hit the dude, caught him right on his chin, and he wobbled him. And now Sabota's like, got him right where I want him, right? And he kind of look over at Mr. Ray and give him a little wink real quick, like, see, told you. And he's wobbling. And at that moment, in a desperate move, his opponent clenched onto him and grabbed him. And not only did he grab Sabota, he gave him a little something else for his measure. He gave him an intentional headbutt. He headbutted him, pow. And then Sabota just pushed him away. And he held his head, in pain, right over his eyebrow, right? He hit him. And he just held his eye. And he looked at his glove, and he seen a little bit of blood on his glove. And the referee stopped in. It's like, time, broke it up. pulled him apart, and he pushed him back. He pushed the other guy to his corner and pushed Sabota back to his corner. And the referee took a good look at Sabota's eye, and he saw that little blood trickling right, from a cut right on his eyebrow. And the referee turned to the judges, and he yelled out, "Accidental headbutt." Then he stepped out of the way and said, "Fight." And Sabota looking around like, accidental headbutt. He looked over at Mr. Ray like, what? And Mr. Ray just shrugs, because, the referee already told him to fight. So Sabota's like, okay. So he go back in. Now he's a little bit more heated. He seemed like he had some rage going on before, but now he was really frustrated. So the opponent saw the blood trickling, and of course, like any animal, you see blood, now you get a little bloodthirsty, right? So he got more of a surge now. He had more urgency to kind of really bring the fight to Sabota. So he rushed in at Sabota, and he's swinging these wild punches, and with everything he had, he just like swinging, just throwing, swinging for the fences, right? None of them landed, though. None of them landed. Sabota still was too fast. And then the dude, he getting frustrated now because he's desperate. They always say, a desperate fighter is a dangerous fighter. And oh boy, was he desperate. He was hurt. He was on his way out, and this was the best thing he had. He already got away with that headbutt, so he's like, okay, let's see what else I can do. So he dipped down, and he nailed Sabota with an uppercut right in the groin. Talk about low. I mean, it was low, like clear as day. And the referee jumped in his face and was like, keep him up, keep him up. And Sabota was like, he couldn't believe that he just got a warning. So he telling him to keep it up, keep it up. And so now at this point, Sabota, he kind of, in pain and everything like that, because he wasn't one to complain. So he didn't stop, and the referee didn't give him a warning or anything. He just told him to keep it up. The referee tells him to keep it going. So Sabota look around for a little bit, but it's no time to, complain or anything like that, because the man's rushing right back at him. He's rushing right back at him. And then before Sabota can really get off, what does he do? He clinches Sabota, holds on, and they bump heads again, right in the same spot. This time the referee don't say nothing, right? So the bell rings, Sabota go back to his corner. And he look at Mr. Ray, he's like, man, that damn ref must be blind. And then Mr. Ray is like, look now, look. Look, the man's getting desperate, okay? He want to get you to trade these shots so he can sneak in those cheap shots. Look, man, I can see it clear as day. Do not play into his hand. Keep your distance. Keep setting him up with the jab. Wait for the right time and hammer him with the right. Now, Ray was giving his best coaching, but Sabota seemed to be in another world. Sabota didn't seem like he was hearing any of it. Like he just, that possessed look turned into just a crazed, like it was a look Mr. Ray almost didn't see before. He kept on talking to him, but it was no use. He can tell something, he was gone. His mind was somewhere else. And it seemed like it wasn't even about the man that he was in the ring with. Mr. Ray couldn't tell what it was, but he was fighting something. But it wasn't the fight that he was in. And Mr. Ray began to kind of stutter, trying to, think of the right thing to say. All he could say was, Sabota, are you listening to me? Sabota. And Sabota turns around like, yeah, man, I hear you. And he said to him one more time, be patient. Do not trade shots. And Sabota looked away and the bell sounded. The bell rung one more time and the fighters got back together. And it was like Mr. Ray didn't say anything at all. He might as well have been in the corner quiet, because Sabota got right back out there, and what did he do? Started trading shots. It went from looking like a high-skilled boxing match to just a slugfest all of a sudden. The guy was kind of landing shots he shouldn't have been landing. Sabota just throwing punches because he just became like a brawl. And this is what the guy wanted. His opponent felt like he had an opportunity now. And they were just standing toe-to-toe. Sabota, bang, bang, and the guy swinging, and he wasn't landing much at all, but some of those shots was getting in. And so Sabota was taking shots he shouldn't have been taking. That he under normal circumstances, he would have never got hit with any of those shots. But his mind wasn't in it. He seemed like he He just wasn't focused. He was just frustrated and mad. He had the blood trickling from his cut, even though the coroner did a great job at getting that blood to slow down. Sabota already, the mental damage was done. He already was frustrated by that. So there you go, trading shots, swinging at the man, and he was crushing him. But this dude, man, some people just won't go down. And Sabota wasn't trying to hear that. Sabota wasn't trying to hear that. So Mr. Ray was in the corner watching this, losing his mind, like, what are you doing? Get the, that's me, bleeping all the cuss words. He was going crazy in the corner, trust me. He's like, get the hell out of here. He's just losing his mind, but Sabota wasn't paying it no mind. Sabota just kept on doing what he doing, blah, hitting them shots and just tearing his body up, tearing his dude up, hitting headshots. Dude, and the guy just, was right, but he was right there, so as long as Sabota stood right there, the man felt like he had a chance, so he's swinging back. And then Sabota came in, he was wide open, and his opponent saw a nice opportunity, and he snuck in a nice little elbow that landed flush on Sabota's head, right on the other eyebrow. Whoop. And Sabota wiped it. And right on the other eyebrow, had a trickle of blood coming from there, so he had 2 cuts now. And at that point, when he saw that blood, he just went red, right? And he released a vicious attack. Just nonstop. Uppercut, right, hook, body shots. And then he finished it with a crazy liver shot. Man, his opponent spit out his mouthpiece and dropped to one knee. And just before the referee can step in, the referee's about to come and stop it, Sabota was still on autopilot. And he hit the man one final time, right on his chin. Clean shot. And his opponent fell right on his face, flat on his face, and was out cold. And Sabota stood over him like he was waiting for him to get up. But he wasn't getting up. The man was down. And obviously the fight was over. Then the referee jumped in front of Sabota, held him and pushed him back and waved off the fight. And he yelled over at the judges, disqualification. Sabota's jaw dropped in disbelief. Like he was kind of like in a trance before, but when he heard that disqualification, it's almost as if it snapped him right out of it. Mr. Ray, man, jumped into the ring. The crowd started booing. And then Sabota jumped into the ref's face, was like, disqualified? Disqualified? How? I barely touched him. And the referee didn't give no explanation. He just shrugged and walked away like, hey, I'm doing my job, man. And then Sabota kind of tried to follow behind Sabota tried to follow behind the referee, like, still trying to get answers. Like, what the hell are you doing? And Mr. Ray rushed over to Sabota to try to get him. And he grabbed Sabota, and Sabota pushed Mr. Ray away. Like, he pushed him away. Like, Mr. Ray strong, but Sabota was like, nobody could stop him at this point. Disqualified? It's the last way he thought this fight was going to go. That was the last thing he thought was going to happen. Sabota broke away from him. He pushed Mr. Ray away. Like I said, he pushed him away. And he ran over to the referee and grabbed him like, yo, man, I'm talking to you. And Mr. Ray yelling at him, trying to go after him. Like, yo, Sabota, cool out, chill, Sabota. And Sabota paid him no mind. And he got right back in the referee's face. And everybody in Sabota's corner jumped in the ring to trying to calm him down, but it was too late. Sabota got his forearm and put his forearm right in the referee's neck. Like he was trying to choke him. Like, this is getting crazy. He already got disqualified. Now he's sitting there trying to choke the referee with his forearm. Like, he just snapped. Like, the man snapped. And then he's like yelling at him while he's doing it too. He's yelling like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? This is my life. This is my life. And the security guard, security started jumping into the ring and everything. And they held Sabota back. Man, he was out of control. And then as they grabbed him, he's swinging and everything. He's swinging. And then they pulled him off from the referee. And he's like, let me go. Get on me. This is my life. He kept saying, this is my life, man. This is my life you playing with. And that's all he can do is yell. Because the damage was done. And it was clear that he was never going to be the same after that moment.
To be continued.